Hi there, Nigel Saunders here. Today we're going to be revisiting my Norfolk Island pine. This will be the second video on this clump of trees. Since the last video, the trees have grown quite well. They've got a lot of multi-trunks coming up that'll have to be sorted out. So it's time to give them a good pruning, and I think I'll repot them also. We'll start pruning one tree at a time, and we'll start on this first tree here. If you'll notice, it's got twin leaders growing up that are the same height. So we want to reduce it down to one major leader for the top of the tree. So we have to pick which one. So we want to pick one that has the best flow line to the trunk. So if I move these branches out of the way, you can see our major trunk line comes up, and this leader would be the natural one that would follow the straight line of the trunk. The other one here bends off and then has multiple trunks coming out of it. Actually 1, 2, 3. So if we were to cut that off, we get a nice flow line to the trunk, and we wouldn't have kind of this ball of trunks in the one area that's thickened this part up. So let's do that. Let's do a big cut on the front, get rid of all this foliage, and just keep our single leader growing up here. A cut like this, right now it's on the front of the tree, but we could turn the tree around so the cut's in the back, so it's less noticeable. But the important thing is to cut it off. Even if it was on the front of the tree, the scar would heal over eventually. So I'm trying to pick a nice flow line here for pruning right about here. There we go. Now, I'm going to try and root this as a cutting because it's got a nice thick base to it, and it could become a nice tree. So I don't know if they root as cuttings, but we'll try it. So here on the main trunk, you can see we've got a nice flow line going up to our apex. We're back to the front view of the tree. Now we want to reduce it down in height also, so we have to pick a point. I'm thinking here we've got a branch each side, one in the back, 2 down lower, so enough foliage to keep the tree healthy. So let's take it off right here. Or maybe we'll take it just a little higher. Yeah, right here. That way something may sprout out of here and we can keep these branches instead of using one as the new leader. We'll see what happens there. The next thing I want to do is I want to shorten these branches so they're not so long. So we're just going to come in and prune them off. Shorter. And one here. Like so. And this back one we're going to prune off shorter also. So there. And just the tip off this one. So there, now we have a short, compact little tree. The next tree we're going to prune is our shortest one here. So let's have a look at the branch structure in that. I've rotated the tree around to the back view, and you can see there is one branch here that kind of continues the line of the trunk going up. The rest kind of come off the side of the trunk and bend up. So this would be our nice leader that continues the straightness of the trunk. I may try and keep some of them as branches. We may try and prune it off to a horizontal branch and see if we can grow some branch structure down lower. So I think we'll do that. We'll start with pruning this one off to our first branch here, like so. The one back here we'll also prune off to our first branch. We're going to shorten our leader down. I think we'll take it off to here. Maybe to here. Yeah. Right here, I think. And we'll see what happens in this area of the apex. We can always continue this to be our leader eventually. let's rotate it back to the front. So here we are, we have another branch that we're going to prune off to our first horizontal branch. We're going to shorten this long one here, and also this one. The next tree I want to prune is the tallest tree, and I've been looking at the trunk structure on it. It doesn't really have any trunk that stands out as a really nice flow line. They all kind of, you know, bend off from the vertical. So I think I'm going to get rid of the most dominant apex, which is this thick branch here, and grow this as the new apex, and then we'll treat all the others as branches. So we'll start by removing the big, tall, thickest one here. Okay, so here we go. We just got to get our pruners in at a good angle here. I think right about here. There we go. Again, that would make a nice cutting. I'll try growing it. Now we'll begin to shorten our branches to our first horizontal branch. I think I'm going to remove this one leader here. It's kind of duplicated by a branch below, so we'll get rid of that one also. And then we'll shorten our branches and our apex. I think we'll shorten our apex down to about here to there, and then we'll shorten our branches, shortest on the top and getting longer as we go down. There we go. So that tree is now pruned up. The next tree we're going to prune is this tall one at the back here. So again, we're going to look for a leader that flows in with the natural trunk line. And I think it's going to be this one. It looks quite tall and good. It just flows in nicely. So let's prune off the others as branches. Got some long shoots up top here we can prune back. We can reduce the height of our leader down to here. And shorten some of these branches back again. Now we do have a bit of a whirl of branches down here. We don't want to keep all of them. I think I'm going to get rid of this one on this side. And I think also this one at the back here, so then we only have two branches coming off the trunk here in this point. If we have three branches, this bulge here will get worse, so that's the reason we've reduced it down to just two branches and then the branches coming off our leader. Our last tree that needs pruning is this corner one. We do only have one major trunk line coming up from that tree, so we're going to prune off the others to the first horizontal branching and shorten that. We're going to reduce our leader down to, I think here, we're going to go fairly low. And then we're going to reduce our branch lengths back to something more reasonable. Somewhere about there. Looks pretty good. We've got the pruning of our little Norfolk Island pines done. Now, they haven't been repotted for at least 2 years. And I'm a little worried about the soil in it. I think it needs changing. I'm not even sure what soil's in the pot there. So I'm going to repot them. Even though it's not the best time of the year, it's not also the worst, because they were fairly cold outside. And now I've brought them into the plant room for fall, and it's warm in here, and it's humid, and they get lots of nice sun. And yeah, I've had good luck with root growth in the plant room here at this time of year. So I think we're going to take it outside now and repot them. You can also see in this planting that I've got these two trees are almost in line with each other. These two trees are in line with each other. So from the front view of this pot, it looks like there's just 3 trees. So we want to fix that so you can see each trunk. Now I wanted to repot this planting to look like it's on Norfolk Island. I wanted to put, you know, a rocky cliff at the beach or the shore with the trees up on the on top of the cliff. I still want to do that, but I'm not going to do it now just because I don't have a suitable pot. I do have rocks picked out for this, and I am going to do it eventually. But for now, I just want to repot to change the soil, do some root pruning, see what's going on with the roots, and try and improve the health of the trees. We're out in the greenhouse now, and I've got a pot that's kind of a nice size for this planting, but it's got a big piece missing out the back of it. So I think I'm going to put some screen up here like this and use this pot anyway. It's just, you know, as the trees are in training, it'll be a good pot for them. Let's start by getting the tree out of the pot. So we'll loosen up the edges here. I have no idea what these roots are going to look like. It's been a few years. This will just be their second potting. The first one was just to get them into a bonsai pot. Okay, here we go. Let's push out our drainage holes here. There we go. And there's what we've got. We've got lots of roots on the bottom, growing out the drainage holes. Looks good. All right, let's start combing them out. We are going to separate all the trees. We definitely have some thick roots in here. You can see them in the corner here. So I'm going to work around one tree at a time and see if I can get it separated from the others. There is quite a mat of roots on the bottom, so it may be quite difficult. Just trying to get them all separated. This one's almost out. Usually if we can get the first one out, the others come a little easier. There's one apart. Wow. Some really tangled up roots in here. It's going to take a bit of root work to get these back under control. There's another one separated. Another one. Another one. There we go. We've got them all separated now. Let's clean up and have a look at the roots. I've washed the roots, and you can see that our roots aren't very good. They're, you know, we don't have a radial root base. They're long. Yeah, they're just not very good. It's going to take quite a bit of pruning to get these in shape. There was one here that last time I pruned a major thick root off at 90 degrees, and it grew a lot of fine root hairs around it. So, you know, whenever you get a new species of tree that you're not familiar with, it's best to be cautious at first, and then as you see how the tree reacts to pruning, you can do a little more every year as your confidence builds and you know how the tree reacts to the pruning. So I'm going to prune them quite severely. We'll see what happens. It's always a bit of a risk, but without a good root base, they'll never be good bonsai trees. So here we go. So I want a flat radial root base. So roots like this that are growing almost straight down into the soil have to be pruned off quite short. So we'll prune them off right to here. 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 and here. And our last root off to here. So that's a pretty severe root pruning. It's going to be like almost planting a cutting in the soil. So we'll see how it does. So let's go on to our next one. So let's do this one that has the drainage screen fused into the roots here. So again, we're looking for flat radial roots. Not seeing a whole lot of them, but there are some. So we'll prune off this one growing straight down. That gets rid of our drainage screen. We'll prune off these ones shorter here, like so. Now we do have some good radial roots in this direction, so we're just gonna trim those back. Like so. And I think that'll be that for that tree. I will prune a bit off the bottom of this bulbous root here, just to try and encourage some more root growth from our cut points. So there, I've taken a slice off here, and I'm hoping we get some roots growing out in a 90-degree pattern or radial pattern from this cut point. So that's all for that tree. This one, we're going to prune this major taproot off, quite short. And we've got some wild roots here. Prune this one off. And this one. And that's about all we can do on that tree. This next one, I remember this from last time pruning it, that it was right at the edge of the pot and all the roots were growing in one direction. So we're going to have to do some pretty severe pruning here. We're just going to take it right off the bottom. Again, planting it as a large cutting and hoping it survives. And our last tree, let's get all these roots out of here. Our last tree is quite bad, the roots. They kind of go down sideways and straight down again. So we're going to do what we can. I think I'm just going to have to take that right off. Like that. See what happens. So we're left with pretty meager root systems. But if the trees survive, we'll have a good radial root base underway. I've got my drainage screens in place. So we're going to put a layer of soil on the bottom. And we're going to put our screen at the side here to hold the soil in the pot where our big crack is. Because we don't have many roots on these trees, we're going to plant them fairly deep in the pot and then mound the soil up around the trees. So now we have to arrange them. So I'm going to arrange them tallest to smallest. The tallest should be the thickest and the smallest should be the skinniest. It's not quite the case in these trees. We've got our tallest is a little skinnier than our second tallest, and our shortest is a little bit fatter. So we may rearrange these. We'll make the fatter one on this side, and we'll take this tallest, skinniest one and put it in this order. So we want our tallest trees in the front, and it gives kind of a forced perspective to the planting. We have 5 trees, so we want to arrange them so we can see all the trunks from the front. And we also want to put the nicest root base on the front of the tree also. I think I'm going to pick that as the front here. And I'm going to put it somewhere about here. We'll try it here anyway. So we'll put some soil mounded up around the tree. So I think these two will go here beside it, and then we'll have the other two offset here. So I'm going to pick the front of this tree, maybe here. Doesn't really matter at this stage, but... And then our next one, we don't want the same spacing between the trees, so we want it a little closer. I'm going to pick that as the front of the tree. We want to give them all their own space in the pot for the roots to grow. We don't want them crowded together too much. That may come later, that we move them in towards each other a little more. I think something like that. With these ones back kind of here. Just trying to pick the front of this tree, I think, about there. Somewhere there I think is pretty good. I may rearrange them as I look at it from the front, but from now it's looking okay. And then our last tree, I think we want back here. We don't want any in a line, which I don't want these three trees in a line, so I'm going to move it over a bit more. But it's still got to look like part of the group, so I think somewhere about there. Now I'm going to come out front and have a look at it. So I'm looking at it from the front now, and I don't like it at all. The trees look too evenly spaced. I don't think we're using enough of the pot either. I think my front tree could come forward more. We could plant more. I think we need to move the one tree behind to give it a little more depth. So let's try rearranging it. Okay, so I've done a little bit of rearranging. I think that's going to be pretty good, I think. You can see all 5 trees. They look randomly spaced. It kind of fills the pot nicely. We've got kind of a negative area over here. So I think once the trees are straight, they'll look good. So let's do that. Let's straighten them up, get our soil in, fix the roots, and then water it. It's very important to get your trees vertical if you want the appearance of a tall, mature forest. Okay, I think that's pretty good. We've piled our soil up a lot higher than we would if they had a nice root system, but we're hoping that it grows over the next few years. Let's give it a water now. There we go. I think the roots will grow really well in this nice loose soil. This soil is again just half perlite and half turfus. All ingredients are sieved to remove the fine particles, and it's mixed together in about a 50-50 ratio. There we go. My last operation is to place some stones around the trees, which holds them in place until the roots get established in the soil. I've got the forest back in the plant room. We're going to have to mist these trees a lot, keep them in good light, and hopefully they'll recover. What I did today was a pretty severe operation, both top and bottom pruning. But, you know, the roots are the foundation of the tree. I would never be happy with the bonsai if it had those spaghetti roots underneath. If these trees are ever going to be a bonsai tree, I've got to grow a nice radial root base and get the roots sorted out first, before we even worry about the tops too much. So we've taken steps to do that. If the trees live, they'll be on their way to becoming a bonsai forest. If they don't make it, well, we've learned something and we can try again, I guess. That's all we can do. So Nigel Saunders of KW Bonsai, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.